So Wera tools have a bit of a cult following. They're German made, so they're pronounced Wera, I believe. Wagner. Let's go with Wera. And beyond just the pretty looks of having different colors for the sizes so it's easier to differentiate, they actually have a unique shape on their tool heads. We met the Wera USA staff at Sea Otter, and this is their explanation of why their tool is so different.
Our L keys are very popular. Most people know about our L keys. What a lot of people don't know is about the Hex Plus design, what actually makes these things unique. So a typical hex tool is 6 points, and when you start to turn it, you're driving 6 points into the wall of the fastener, which is why you're eventually stripping these fasteners out over time.
Okay.
So what we actually do is a Hex Plus design, which is it's our own patented design. And basically when you start to turn it inside the fastener, these flat points or shoulders, as we like to call them, are driving into the sidewalls versus the 6 points. So it's never going to strip your screws out, and these screws that are getting stripped out will be removed with the Hex Plus stuff. So everything that we do that uses hex has Hex Plus. We don't make anything that's a standard hex.
Before we go on, just a quick note that this video is not sponsored. I bought all these tools with my own money. They are not cheap. Thank you to those that support us on Patreon or buy stickers so we can do more videos like this where we can just buy products outright. So like many of you, I like the idea of using a tool that's not wearing down the objects that I'm working with. I picked up their Allen wrench kit a while ago and have been using it for the last couple of months. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt and assume that these tools will indeed not wear down the bolts you're working on as quickly. While I like this, it is a bit on the chonky side and not something that you would take on a ride. So I decided to pick up this. This is their Wera Bicycle 1 kit. Looking at it, it's similar to other ratcheting tools. You've got all the bits here, and they use the same Torx Plus profile, as well as a little ratcheting tool and a toolbar extender. One of the reasons I bought this toolkit is because I wanted the quality in something a little bit smaller that I could take on a ride, and this is not it. and it's not so much that the tools are bad, it's everything else. For example, I just think this case is a little excessive and big. For a frame of reference, this is a toe peak ratcheting tool set. Similar amount of tools. I think this might actually have more. And the size of this one is considerably more bike friendly or more portable than the Wera one. I'm not quite sure why they made it this shape. Maybe they were repurposing, you know, a case for another toolkit that they had. But it's just, it's really big. But this is almost too chonky for some frame bags that I have. So the first thing is the case. They gotta slim it down. The toe peak one seems to be just the right size. You've got access to all the tools as well as the ratcheting thing. There's sleeves here for another tool extender, and I believe, what was it? It was a chain tool, which I misplaced. First things first, before we even get to the tools themselves, is the case is just, it's not great for bringing with you on a bike ride. So getting over that, let's look at the ratcheting tool itself. And it's actually quite nice. It's fairly chonky. It's got a great shape to it. Change directions with the switch over here. Playing with the ratchet, as one does, it feels as if the pawls are a little bit more substantial than other tools. This is the toe peak one in comparison. It's a little bit more spindly, a little bit simpler shape. It does have the same switch to change directions, but if you listen to it, it just feels as if the pawls are a little bit finer, or the teeth are a little bit finer. This has a bassier sound. It sounds as if the teeth or the pawls or the ratcheting system in this is just a little bit more robust. That said, if I had to choose between the toe peak one, which has like the slightly finer ratcheting teeth, probably not as robust, or the Wera one, I'm actually going to choose the toe peak one. And the reason is because of this. It's got a spot here that will hold another bit. You can have one bit here that you are actively using in the ratcheting head, and you can have another bit here in this holding spot. And what's nice about this is if you have a tight space and you just want to, and you need more length to get in there to start the screw, you can do that this way. Another great thing about having a bit holder here is that it's kind of like a on-deck circle. So if you're working on your stem or your headset, you know, sometimes it's 4 millimeters, sometimes it's a 5 millimeter. So this way you can quickly swap the bits that you need. Let's say you're tightening the faceplate of your stem and then you have to go and tighten your stem cap. You can swap it pretty easily and do that job as well. Whereas with the Wera tool, it can only hold one tool. So that means if you're doing something that requires both a 4 and the 5, you've got one of the bits in here and the other one in your hand or in your case, and then you have to fumble around and swap them around. So in practice, not as quick to use. So you can see this can only carry one bit at a time. The toe peak lets you have an active bit as well as an on deck circle, or a way to get into tight spaces. Just realized I had this in my ears the whole time and actually not using them. The next thing are the bits themselves. On the toe peak, as well as other ratcheting sets I've tried, they're kind of they're a cloth sleeve, fairly easy to get out, but holds it well enough. On the Wera one, these are rubber loops, which hold them pretty well, sometimes too well. They're kind of hard to get into. There, finally got one out. They might loosen over time, but it's just not as quick to use. And when you only have space to hold one bit, it becomes kind of a pain in the butt when you're actually using it. Another thing that's a bit of a bummer is the bits themselves don't have any color coding. On this particular kit, I believe this is the bicycle one, the color coding didn't transfer over. I feel like I've seen another bit kit where it does have the same color coding, so it can just be consistent, but on this one it does not. I do like that the Wera comes with this extension bar, which is a lot handier than you would think. You can use it by itself to access kind of tight spaces, but more importantly, it gives the bits some length. One kind of tricky bolt that I struggle with when we travel is when I remove the rear derailleurs. Sometimes that bolt is recessed enough that some smaller multi-tools aren't long enough to get in there and undo it or tighten it, but with this it should be no problem. I've done a lot of complaining so far. The bits themselves are great, don't get me wrong, it's just the packaging and the wrench. So what I think I'm going to do in order to make the perfect ratcheting toolkit is actually transfer the bits from the Wera toolkit into the toe peak case. There's a couple tools that the toe peak has that this does not, but once I do that, I should have the best of all worlds: the much smaller case, the ratcheting and wrench that can carry a extra bit, the sleeves that are a little bit easier to pull the bits in and out of, but still have the high quality Torx Plus bits from the Wera toolkit. So if you're a big fan of the Wera tools and are into the whole Torx Plus thing, but want to have it in a more, bike friendly form factor, then the bicycle kit by Wera is not quite there. But if you happen to have something like the toe peak kit, you can combine them together and form the perfect ratcheting bike travel kit. If you're interested in any of this, links below. Again, this video is not sponsored. I bought all these tools. If you guys appreciate that, please consider supporting the channel by joining us on Patreon. As always, everybody, keep the supple side down.